Hey everybody, Michael here. Hope you're all well. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're looking at two products from Shear Revival. We are going to be looking at their Amity Texture Spray as well as their newly reformulated and re-released American Gardens Clay Pomade. And yeah, I mean, this whole review is just very Shear Revival themed. As you see, I have the Shear Revival crew neck sweatshirt on as well. Everything Shear Revival in this video. And we are going to start by looking at the American Gardens Clay Pomade on its own. All right, so getting right into it. Shear Revival's American Gardens Clay Pomade. Same 4-ounce amber glass jar as their other styling products, and I do like the label, of course. Shear Revival does very nice branding. I like the videotape because this is a reference to a line in the movie American Psycho about returning some videotapes, and then here you have some directions about the product, and then here are the ingredients. Taking the lid off, on the inside you see this product here that looks quite like a water-based clay, and the scent is supposed to be a blood orange and oak moss scent. So to me, I like it a lot. It's got sort of a very smooth sort of herbal type of scent in there, and you do get a bit of brightness from the blood orange. So I guess before we get into the review of the product itself, we might want to talk about how does this compare to the old formula that I'm sure many of you remember as well. For starters, the old formula was oil-based. It was more of sort of like an oil-based vegan pomade with clay in it type of product. It was a bit unique. I enjoyed it a lot when it first came out, but I also remember it being rather slick and having a distinct shine to it, which for me, a clay shouldn't really have those characteristics. Now, the new American Gardens is water-based. It is not oil-based. It's also meant to be strong holding, matte finish, and have a nice dry texture to it. Not to say the original was bad or anything. The original was still an enjoyable product to use, but I think this is truer to what a clay should be. Whereas, like I said, I think the original American Gardens is more of like a pomade with clay in it. So either way, we're not going to fuss over the semantics too much. Let's get into actually using the product. Scooping out the product, it is a bit of a thicker product, but you should expect that because it is also a stronghold product. But then we begin to break it down in your hands, it does break down rather easily, and then applying it to the hair, it is a stronghold dry finish product, so you should expect a little bit of grip and tug when applying. Now I'm applying to just clean blow dried hair, nothing else added into the hair except for the clay itself, and yes, there is a bit of a grip, but it doesn't feel like I'm ripping my hair out or anything, but you definitely will feel a little bit of tug from the product. Now into the actual styling. So the nice thing about the American Gardens Clay Pomade is that the product has a nice instant hold to it. It feels nice and dry right away as well. It doesn't really feel like there's going to be a big huge dry down window for this product, whereas a lot of texture products, when you first apply them, they require sometimes like 15 to 20 minutes, maybe even an hour to fully settle into the hair before you really see what you're left with. Whereas with American Gardens, I feel like you're at least 90% of the way there when you initially start styling. This product is strictly a texture product. I wouldn't say this is one of those more versatile products. I would say it's more just strictly geared towards texture. And for me, I get a nice sort of firm to strong hold right away. It's got a nice matte finish. It also gives some really nice texture as well. And it does have a distinct dry grip to it, but it's not one of those dry grips that makes my hair go in 1,000 different directions and get really wavy or anything like that. It still has enough control to rein my hair in, give me the volume, the texture, and the hold, balance it all out, and give me a result that I'm really happy with. But yeah, I would say by far, compared to the other Shear Revival products, this one is definitely the strongest, the driest, and the most texturizing of any of them. But it still never feels too dry, like your hair is unhealthy or anything. So you can restyle later in the day if you want to, or should you need to. Restyling is pretty easy because it never gets greasy or remains dry enough that you can restyle. Yeah, I mean, I would say maybe later in the day for me, my hair might get slightly wavier, but not by much because it still retains a lot of nice control, and pretty much the hold and the volume remain rather consistent all day as well. But at the end of the day, what you're left with is a nice clean feeling product that has a lot of endurance and volume, maintains a strong hold, and gives a nice sort of coarse looking texture. So really nothing to complain about there. All right, so let's move on to Amity, which is also a pretty new product. It's not as new as the new formula for American Gardens, but it still is a pretty recent release from Shear Revival. This is a light hold matte finish water-based texture spray, and one thing that I noticed is some people who've reviewed this product already, it had a different spray top. I think this is a new one that they're going with. I actually like it a bit more. This one's pretty cool. You just press this button on the side here and it opens it, and then it seals it back up again. And then also too, on a more functional level, what you get is 8 ounces of product. Here, if you want to see the ingredients, here they are. And this one has a bergamot and sage scent. I'm not gonna open the bottle because I don't wanna get messy, but it has a nice sort of, again, fresh citrus scent that complements the American Garden scent pretty nicely. Now for the Amity Spray, we're not going to get into an endurance test or anything with it because this is really meant to be just used as a pre-styler, light hold, matte finish, give your hair some texture and some volume. And that's really more what it's meant to do do, so I'm just going to show you how I would use it on its own as a pre-styler. I'm just going to spray somewhat generously into towel-dried hair and make sure that I get it really evenly in there. And then what I like to do is with products like these, I like to just run my hand over the top of my head once I'm done applying, just to make sure that it really gets down to the roots as well. And then with the blow dryer, I am just blow drying some medium heat on the high output setting, so just a lot of warm air hitting my hair there. And I am just blow drying it into position. And what I'm left with at the end is a nice light holding voluminous hairstyle. It does have a little bit of a dry grip to it, and this is one of the only texture sprays that I've seen from the homebrew market that actually does have a clay in it. It does have kaolin clay in it. So this one, it definitely does give a nice bit of texture. It does have a bit of a grippiness to it though that I haven't experienced from some other texture products that don't have any clay in it. And this one, compared to some other texture sprays, this is a bit more of a drier finish spray compared to maybe like the O'Dowd's texture spray and a few others that I've tried in the past. I would say this one definitely has a bit of a distinct dryness to it that kind of separates it from the others. But that's good for those of you that like dry hair products, and for those of you that like products that give your hair a good grip, especially if you have like fine hair and you really need that volume to get the hairstyle that you want. This is something that's going to add a lot of value to you. Now for me though, I am still happy with the result myself, but like I said, it feels pretty light, has a bit of a grip to it. It's a bit dry for what I like in a pre-styling spray, but I still can use it effectively. When using it with American Gardens, going to use that as the post-styler on top of Amity. What's nice is Amity gives you a good foundation, so it already gives you that volume, so you don't need to use as much of American Gardens once you're done blow drying. For me, I just use 2 small scoops of American Gardens, layer it in there to get that nice strong hold, and what I notice is it is kind of an overkill of texture. Now, that's not a bad thing for most of you. A lot of people like really texturized hairstyles, but this is just like an explosion of texture. It is like the most textured my hair has ever looked. It is just incredibly textured. But when you mix the American Gardens clay with Amity, it does feel a lot drier than using American Gardens on its own. Definitely a bit more of a dryness, a little bit more of a stiff feeling, but definitely a lot more grip, but you get way more volume as well. And I also noticed when you combine them, your hair does not quite look as matte than when you used American Gardens on its own. But yeah, I would say you get the same volume, the same hold, the same control without using as much product, and might actually even get a bit more volume because you're not quite using as much of a wax product. So yeah, I mean, the endurance is pretty much the same. It actually endures just as good as American Gardens on its own. It can be an all-day combo product if you want. So yeah, I have no issue there, but it does feel a bit drier because like I said, it does add more clay into your hair. So it will feel a bit drier and grippier, and you can still restyle, but like I said, it's drier and grippier. So it'll be a bit more difficult, but still doable if you are willing to put up with a little bit of dryness. And I also noticed it doesn't affect the rinse out in any way either. You can still wash out American Gardens with shampoo like you would if you used it without Amity. So that's no issue there either. So for the final verdict for these products, we're going to split it up because these are 2 separate products. I'm going to start really quickly with American Gardens. So yeah, American Gardens, this new formula, I like it a lot. I think it's a huge improvement over the original formula. This one is more of kind of what a true clay is kind of viewed as in the market today. Water-based, strong hold, matte finish, lots of texture, endures very well, washes out easily, never feels too dry, never feels greasy or anything like that. Very well-made, stronghold, dry finish clay. Now, I know some of you are also going to ask, how does this compare to their other matte finish product, Northern Lights, their matte paste? I would kind of say Northern Lights is somewhere between a medium and firm hold. Definitely not as strong as this one. Northern Lights also doesn't give as much texture. Northern Lights is more of a fine texture product. I would also say it's a bit more versatile. Northern Lights can be used for a neat or textured hairstyle, and it's a lot smoother looking and a bit smoother feeling. Whereas this one, if you want that dry, rough, gritty texture with a lot of hold, American Gardens is going to be the one that you want to go for. But yeah, I like both products. I like this one a lot. I think it definitely has its place in the Shear Revival line. And like I said, it's a huge improvement over the old formula. So if you want an all-day sort of dry texture, sort of gritty finish product, this is the one for you. And of course, because this is a Shear Revival product, you know that the dry finish from the product is never going to make your hair feel unhealthy. It's never going to dry out your hair in excess or anything like that, because Zach uses really nice ingredients, so your hair does feel perfectly healthy while using this product as well, which is something not to overlook when we see a dry finish product that doesn't dry out your hair completely. And lastly, on to Amity. One thing that I want to mention that I didn't mention when I was going over the demo footage, I'm sorry, definitely before you use it, make sure that you shake it, because the clay will settle at the bottom of the bottle. So before you use it, make sure that you shake the bottle. But anyway, yeah, Amity is a bit of a drier, light hold texture spray. I would say it definitely has a bit more grip to it than your average texture spray, but a lot of people will like that. I especially think fine-haired people will like this one because it really does give some nice volume. It just adds a nice light hold to it, and it definitely keeps the hair with a nice matte finish, but great for volume, and especially if you want to go for more of a dry look. And I think it pairs pretty well with the American Gardens Clay. However, like I said, this one is a bit dry for my taste personally. I still like it, and I will use it with some other products in the future for sure, but my preference is usually something that's a bit more of a smoother Prestyler than something like this. But still, yeah, if you want a light hold, dry finish, lots of texture, lots of volume when pre-styling, really can't go wrong with Amity. I do enjoy it, but like I said, it's got to be one that I'm kind of in the mood for, but it still is a very well-made texture spray nonetheless, and I think a lot of you will enjoy it. So yeah, both products, I think they are excellent new additions to the Shear Revival line. Definitely fill some holes in their lineup, and definitely will appeal to a lot of you, especially if you already like Shear Revival products. These are two that you should definitely add to your shopping cart as soon as you possibly can, because they have the same quality as the other Shear Revival products and add some new dimension to their line. So with that said, this was a double review of the American Gardens Clay Pomade and the Amity Texture Spray. And also, like I said, I'm wearing a Shear Revival sweatshirt. Everything Shear Revival in this video is just Shear Revival mania. We are looking at all the Shear Revival products. So with that said, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Please like and don't forget to subscribe. And make sure you check the description down below. I will have tons of resources down there for you, like a more detailed written review on both of these products, as well as a link to where you can find them for yourselves. And at the way bottom, I will be comparing American Gardens to a few other products on the market to give you a better idea of how it might stack up against some others in your collection. So yeah, with that said though, I gotta go get this video put together. Lots of editing for this one because we're reviewing multiple products. So yeah, with that said, you guys have a good one, and I will see you all soon with another video.